What if I told you that long before the truth ever set his weed farm on fire, or gave CJ a ride to San Fierro, or spent most of his days rambling about microwave surveillance and Area 69, he was a highly intelligent engineering student recruited by the US government to work on top secret initiatives within its most highly classified sectors? What if all the crazy Alex Jones-esque conspiracy ramblings actually have truth to them, and he's not just some hippie with a van full of crystals? If you pay very close attention to the truth's dialogue throughout the San Andreas story and connect the breadcrumbs Rockstar scatters throughout the game, you'll realize that the truth's origin story is very different from the character who encounters Carl Johnson in his 60s. Now, before I dig too deep here, I do want to clarify that none of this is sanctioned lore by Rockstar. It's really just taking the truth, the things he says throughout the game, all of his dialogue, and comparing that to actual government programs, actual counterculture movements, actual people like the truth that lived in the 70s, and speculating on his background, what it might have been, how he found out what he knows, and why he's as crazy as he is. So let's get into it. To really understand this eccentric character's intention, backstory, and why he lives in such a state of constant paranoia, we have to go back long before his adventures in San Andreas. In the early 1960s, as the Cold War escalated and paranoia gripped the highest levels of government, the US launched a series of covert research initiatives aimed at gaining an edge over its enemies, especially in the realms of mind control, surveillance, and advanced propulsion systems. It was during this era that a young, fiercely intelligent engineering student, known to us only as The Truth, was quietly recruited into a classified program operating deep within the country's military-industrial complex. In San Andreas, The Truth references a place not even the NSA knows about, where they do things like test biological weapons and develop mind control chips.
What's with all aluminum foil, man?
Protection from mind control, dude.
Mind control?
Induction of images, sound, or emotion using microwave radiation. Do you know how many government satellites are watching any citizen at any moment?
No.
23. Do you know how many religious relics are kept at the Pentagon?
No, I don't.
23. You see a pattern emerging here, man?
It all sounds like someone who has had their brain fried, but if you cross-reference those quotes with real-world history, specifically the CIA's MK Ultra program, Operation Midnight Climax, and Area 51 propulsion tests, what he's describing isn't nonsense. It's eerily consistent with things the US government actually did. Moments like these are easily written off by players as the ramblings of a hippie who has done too much acid, and despite the fact that he has CJ checking out actual government surveillance vehicles in the mission Wear Flowers in Your Hair, most people don't take much of what The Truth has to say seriously. But a lot of it speaks to the possible PTSD and paranoia that people who were involved in these programs might have actually held. So let's get back to The Truth's story. He gets involved in these government programs under the misconception that he's actually doing something good. He's young, idealistic, and brilliant. But the deeper he gets, the more he realizes there are human tests being done, inhumane experiments, and unethical and illegal acts of torture. After a while, he reaches a breaking point. But imagine what it would have actually felt like to be in his shoes. You sign up to serve your country, not with a gun, but with your mind. You believe in progress, in science, and using knowledge to protect freedom. And then you realize you're not protecting anyone. You're watching innocent people get pumped full of drugs, their mind torn apart for data. You're seeing technologies developed not to enlighten humanity, but to control it. That kind of disillusionment creeps in slowly. At first you look the other way, but eventually you reach a breaking point. The Truth couldn't stay. Whether he fled, was discharged under suspicious circumstances, or faked his own disappearance, one thing is clear. The Truth walked away from the system, and he's been running ever since. But you don't just get to leave places like that, not without consequences. To survive, he went completely off the grid. He changed his name, buried his past, and reinvented himself as a man who works to dismantle the systems he despises from a near invisible identity. The Truth's obsession with psychedelics, crystals, and cosmic energy is a coping mechanism. After what he experienced, traditional therapy wasn't an option, so instead he turned to mind expansion as a way to make sense of the horror. Acid, shrooms, and DMT became a spiritual refuge. He bounces between jokes and panic like a man who has seen too much and can never allow himself to fully return return to reality. His entire worldview is a patchwork of real memories and psychedelic symbolism, a survival strategy built from the remaining pieces of his own unraveling mind. He might look like a burnout, but everything the truth does and the way he acts is probably intentional. His off-grid van, his secluded weed farm, his distrust of phones, microwaves, and structured time, all of it points to someone who knows how the system operates and how it keeps tabs on people. The truth is someone who understood surveillance so deeply he had to vanish from it completely. His obsession with frequency blockers, his rants about cosmic interference, and his fixation on electromagnetic waves all take on new meaning when you consider he may have helped design the very technology he now fears. At one point, he tells CJ, "I've seen things you people wouldn't believe." And again, we write this line off as another symptom of the truth's satirical persona, but if we take the world of GTA seriously, he's probably telling the truth. And to fully understand the truth, you not only have to understand him as a character, but the era from which he came from. He's a direct product of the 1960s, a time when idealistic people genuinely believed they could change the world through protest, psychedelics, and spiritual awakening. But by the end of that decade, the dream had curdled. Government crackdowns, the Vietnam War, and the commercialization of counterculture itself left an entire generation bitter and broken. The truth is the embodiment of that collapse. And Rockstar made that message loud and clear by casting Peter Fonda to voice him. Fonda wasn't just an actor, he was a living symbol of 60s rebellion. His role in Easy Rider made him a face of anti-establishment freedom. Sure, he's got a killer hippie voice, but after riding across America looking for meaning in Easy Rider, Fonda is now hiding in his van and running around from the systems his generation built. In many ways, the truth is Peter Fonda's Easy Rider character, decades later, older and hollowed out. He's what happens when the revolution just doesn't pan out, and the only way he knows how to deal with that is by retreating into psychedelics, conspiracies, and jokes. But here's the thing, the truth's not stupid. He's aware of the way he sounds.
What if I told you we never went to the moon? JFK lives in Scotland with Janis Joplin, and the only reason we've been in a Cold War for the last 45 years was because snake-headed aliens run the oil business.
I think you popped another micro dot.
Good. Keep it that way.
He plays the hippie. He leans into crystals and incense and zany energy because it's the perfect disguise. It makes people underestimate him, and most importantly, it makes him invisible. If he came out and plainly told people what he saw, if he tried to warn them, organize them, or educate them, he'd become a target. Or worse, he'd be taken seriously. And that's the last thing he wants. So he wraps the truth in absurdity. He laughs when he says the most terrifying things. He throws on his red flannel and a grin and lets people believe he's just some old burnout. But pay attention to what he says between the jokes and a different picture starts to form. Even his name, The Truth, has a purposeful contradiction. He's a man who once believed in truth, who thought science, technology, and information could be used for good. But now that truth has turned on him. It's buried in classified documents, scrubbed from government servers, locked in underground bunkers in abandoned labs, and all he can do is carry the fragments of it, twisted, psychedelic, and half forgotten, as he drifts from place to place, trying to stay free from a system he once helped build. He talks a lot about surveillance and the government watching us, and while it all sounds like the rambling of some old hippie, when you look at the way things actually went, he's not too far off. Like a precursor to Edward Snowden, he knew what the government would do with the information it could obtain by watching its citizens. And while it's easy to call that paranoia, it's also hard to ignore that he's usually right. Because in the years since San Andreas, our real world has only moved closer to the one the truth warned us about. Mass surveillance, algorithmic manipulation, government-sponsored disinformation, it's all here now. And it's almost so normalized now that talking about it in that context makes me feel like I sound like a conspiracy theorist myself. The amount of data and the way that our online footprint is recorded, in the 90s, explaining that to somebody would make you sound like a tinfoil hat wearing lunatic. Now let's be honest, Rockstar included the truth in GTA San Andreas as satirical comic relief of the hippie conspiracy era. But satire reflects reality, and there undoubtedly was and still are people like the truth. People whose lives were shaped by things they were never supposed to see. People who were told to keep their mouths shut, to stop asking questions, and to trust systems that failed them over and over again. Most of his conspiracy theories come from real life experience, but other theories of the world spread from a struggle to understand the world around us, trying everything we can to make sense of information when we're intentionally not being given the full picture. Conspiracy theories don't just come out of nowhere. They come from uncertainty, from deep psychological discomfort of not really having control of our surroundings. When institutions fail to tell the truth over and over again, people begin to doubt just about every single thing they say. There's also something to be said about empowerment and thinking you've cracked the code and found something out that others haven't. It gives people agency. Belief in a conspiracy can make you feel smart, aware, or prepared for the future, like you're on the outside of society for a reason. That kind of identity is addictive, especially when the alternative is accepting that the world is broken and unfair for no good reason. And when you're burned out by real cover-ups, when you've seen governments admit to crimes decades after denying them, it starts to become pattern recognition. So maybe behind all that comic relief, the truth is actually one of Rockstar's most tragic figures. A man who devoted his life to understanding the world only to have that knowledge become his curse. He saw too much, lost everything, and now survives by hiding in plain sight, rambling, laughing, and warning anyone who will listen. And maybe that's why he resonates, because deep down we all kind of feel like the truth is being hidden from us. What's the deal with those Epstein files, am I right? We're all looking for answers in a world that doesn't really offer any clear ones. And maybe when we hear the truth or other conspiracy theorists, we wonder if they're actually onto something, but it's such a slippery slope that we never actually entertain that thought, right? Because for conspiracy theorists, in a world built on lies, paranoia kind of becomes normal behavior, right? For me personally, I can recognize that there's a lot of BS in the world. The government, the media, social media, everything's kind of a distorted truth, a manufactured reality in a lot of cases. And I don't go too deep into that rabbit hole because it's a deep rabbit hole. So instead, I try to filter information to the best of my ability, don't get too stressed out over, concerning information, and just try to do the best I can in my personal life. And we're getting a little too deep now, so I'm probably going to wrap this up here. But overall, the truth, he's a great character. He's an embodiment of conspiracy theorists, and in the year of our Lord 2025, his identity and persona feels more relevant than ever. Does the Illuminati exist? Is the government run by lizard people? Who knows? All right, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. This was a fun one. I do want to get in some of these character deep dives, kind of analyze some lines here and there and kind of go into their backgrounds. I think it'd be fun. So yeah, if you like this, let me know. I'll keep doing some stuff like this from characters, using characters from different games. And yeah, appreciate you watching. This is Mike, GTA Analysis. Catch you guys next time.